Big news coming up. President Trump's influence facing a major test Tuesday with the Republican Senate runoff in Texas. Trump's late endorsement of Attorney General Ken Paxton has shaken up the hotly contested race against incumbent Senator John Cornyn, with the most recent polls showing it's still really close right now. The winner will face Democrat James Tallarico coming up in November.
I've asked every person I've been in front of for a year and 2 months, can you name one good accomplishment from John Cornyn in his 42 years? No one's ever given it to me. So I was giving him a chance to deliver on something. And guess what? They went on vacation for 2 weeks instead.
I really don't think it was about me. I think it's very different from the Cassidy and Massey situation, because I've been a Trump ally, as you point out. I think he got frustrated with the Senate not able to get what he wanted when he wanted it. And as you know, the president can be a pretty impatient guy, and I certainly understand that.
Joining me now is congressional correspondent for Puck, Abby Livingston. Abby, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Let's, just dive right in here. Trump's endorsement of Paxton has pretty much divided Republicans, you can say. Given Paxton's long trail, controversial trail and history of political scandals, will his potential victory push independents and some Republicans maybe over to Tallarico?
That is one question, and there's actually Republican operatives who work in Texas politics who I think end up voting for Tallarico. But at the same time, it may be less of a question of persuasion versus Republicans staying home because they're not fans of Paxton. Where Tallarico comes in is whether the opposition research coming at him is going to be enough to get those despondent Republicans to the polls.
All right, I want to pull up this new Fox poll really quickly and talk about the numbers. Support for the president among rural voters, non-MAGA Republicans, and Republicans at large. And new numbers are really at a new low. With numbers like those, do you think Democrats have a real shot in Texas and really other red states in November?
I think Democrats absolutely have a shot in Texas. It can flip. That doesn't mean it will flip. But I think we are seeing an opening in rural America based on agriculture, the demise of USAID, tariffs, all these sorts of things. Democrats tell me they are being heard by farmers for the first time in many, many years.
So Texas could be purple, maybe.
I would say light pink, but this is going to cost a fortune if Republicans are going to save it.
So Democrats promised to go full scorched earth to win the gerrymandering battle that we've seen happening all across the South after the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act. Republicans, rushed to redraw a lot of maps, at least a dozen districts across the South, so that are currently held by black Democrats, in fact. So with their sights set on states such as New York, New Jersey, Illinois, Maryland, do Democrats have the political will to overcome the structural hurdles to redraw those maps?
I think they will, but it will not be until next cycle. And so what is happening is that the way the climate is right now, which is so negative for Republicans, the redistricting might make their losing of the House less worse. But where I think it'll really come into effect is if there is a Speaker, Hakeem Jeffries, he may have a terrible margin to deal with.
Good to know. Since I have you, I want to talk about something that we actually brought on the show or talked about on the show yesterday. That's the autopsy report from the DNC about the 2024 election. The DNC chair, Ken Martin, releasing it under pressure, as we know, after keeping it under wraps for months, saying it was too flawed to be useful. It's faced a lot of criticism since then. He's now facing calls to resign. What do you make of the report? And even more so, will he keep his job?
I think he's in a lot of trouble, but when you expand out even further, his job was to repair the state party system in all of these neglected states, like Texas, like these southern states. And so all of this infighting is a distraction from the DNC's job is to have an infrastructure in place and where the rest of the party doesn't invest. And so it is getting very late in the cycle, whether or not he stays or goes, to be having this kind of infighting.
Going back to the Republican side of the aisle and looking forward to midterms, how big is the affordability conversation and sort of where Republicans stand on that and how that's going to play into how people vote at the ballot box?
I think it's everything right now. And I think affordability is labeled as a Democratic term, so Republicans try to avoid using that term. But it's right there on the gas, at the gas station. It is everyday Americans are encountering this. And I don't think there is a metric more important in American politics right now than the price of gas.
So when you talk to Republicans in Congress, I mean, what are they saying? Are they living in a different reality, or are they just trying to spin it at this point?
I think they are pretty much living in reality, and they have been. And I think the turning point was the beginning of the Iran war. That just sort of brought back memories from the 2006 election when Iraq was a drag, and that this war has not gone well. It's not ending, and it has driven up the price of gas.
All right, Abby Livingston, thank you for walking us through a host of topics today. Good to see you.